Marianne Hickman here with talk tip number 3, how to get booked on your very first stage. So I'm going to collapse some time for you. There's a lot of ways to just get on your first stage, but the first thing you have to do is understand exactly what a stage is. A stage can be digital and a stage can be physical. A stage can be owned by you and a stage can be owned by someone else. So there's a lot of ways to get on stages, and when you think of it that way, they're a lot easier to book. Now, one of the easiest stages to book is a stage that needs people. Think about stages that need speakers, that need content all the time. What's one of the number ones? Your church. Yes, I said it. If you go to church, do you know how stoked the leader of their congregation would be if you volunteered instead of them having to make the phone call begging for someone to get on stage? What if you volunteered and say, hey, if you're looking for a speaker this week or this month, I'm happy to get up and share my message. They would be elated, right, Richard? Do you remember making those phone calls and having to ask? That would be a very easy stage for you to get on, and you're obviously just showing up and serving. Here's another really cool way to get on stages. I've made this very, very easy for you. Think about podcasts. Podcasts are like the modern day magazine. It's like a digital audio version of a magazine. Podcasts are always looking for guests. And in fact, you know that I have a list of over 400. I add to it twice a week. So it's soon to be over 500 different podcasts that are looking for guests. They need people. They want to stay podcasting. So they need people to hop on those stages. Now, in the podcast database, there are links where you can just go in and you can apply. But I want to give you a little bit extra in case you're using the podcast database and some other things. I want you to go and email the podcast organizer or the event host, whoever's in charge of that podcast. Do a little bit of Googling and find out if you can get their email. If you email them, in addition to going through the podcast database and requesting, you're going to stick out and you're going to earn more stages. Now, here's the third way. Now, this is really important, and one way that's almost guaranteed for you to get on stages because of the value that you're adding. And this is through attending. If you attend the events that you eventually want to speak at, you're going to come into the conversation with the event organizer so much more educated and so much more connected. Whenever I have a dream stage, right, the big stage that I want to get on, I remember to go to the event first. I get to know the staff. I get to know the people there. I don't care if I'm making coffee trips or buying flowers or vacuuming the floors or helping them organize chairs. I'm adding value to their community. I always make sure to find the event hosts. I shake their hand. I say thank you for organizing this event. Thank you for opening up your space. Whoever's leading the event, you want to talk to the event host. You want to talk to the event space manager if they're not the same guy. You want to talk to the caterers. You want to talk to everyone that's making that event possible. Get to know them and get personal relationship with them. This is the fastest and best closing rate for winning stages. Now, the podcast database, that's basically cold outreach. You're going to have a conversion percentage, but it's going to be lower than your networking conversion percentage. Your highest conversion percentage on winning stages is going to be through being introduced to people. And you can't get introduced to people if you're not showing up and becoming friends with the people at the event. Now, a warning, don't make the mistake I did. Years ago, when I first started doing this, I started attending events with the intention of using, keep in mind that word, using that event to getting booked on the next stage instead of showing up to serve and showing up to add value. The law of reciprocity says that when you give, you receive. But if you're trying to invoke the law of reciprocity, it doesn't work because you have this user mentality in mind. Don't do that. Go with the intention to show up and to serve and to add value, expecting nothing in return, because then you're going to vibe with the right people. I hope you enjoy this talk tips. We'll see you on the podcast. Marianne Hickman here again. Listen, I hope super helpful for you. Maybe you'll learn something new. Share with me in the comments what was valuable. Or if you have this whole separate question like, hey, I wanted to know about this. I wanted to know about stage fright. I want to know how about my presentation on stage. I want to know about how to dress on stage. Anything that you want to know that's relevant to growing your business through stages, put the questions. Because guess what? I go through and answer all of those personally. That's not an agency or a VA. That's me going through and looking at your questions because you are who I am here for. So Last thing is I want you to get this database if you haven't gotten it already. Now, I've got thousands of downloads on this thing, so maybe you've got it, but if not, make sure you go to mariannehickman.com/database. What that's going to do is take you to a page. You're going to input all of your information. We're going to send the database to you. You're going to request access to it. I keep it locked down so I can make sure I get it to just the right people. And you're going to request access. And then once you have that, you're going to go through and apply to podcasts that have the topic that you'd be an expert speaking on. Here's the thing. I get this database updated twice a week. So there's always new stuff in there. And if you're a podcaster, there's even a list of 400 plus guests that you can have on your show on that podcast. Maybe you end up doing a podcast swap and you grow your audience that way. Regardless, I want you to get it. So mariannehickman.com/database, and we'll see you in the next Talk Tips.